you know, you've got a lot of vacant buildings, a lot of empty land, some of it privately owned, some of it owned by the city of St. Louis. And what we do is we have a developer who's already spent $50 million assembling sites. And the idea is that when the time's right, the city will sell our property to this developer for market value, and that developer will market this for a planned development. Now, in this economy, this is a tough thing, but I don't think that we have a whole lot to lose by pushing this. So I hear what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. Here's what happened to the city historically. We had 850,000 people in the city of St. Louis in 1950. 850,000 people in the census of 1950. Population of the city has dropped to now 319,000 people. That's roughly, in terms of the number of people and jobs lost, roughly the equivalent of the devastation suffered by New Orleans under Hurricane Katrina. And as people and jobs moved out, they left behind deteriorating infrastructure, a high concentration of people who are poor and need government services, a lot of environmental problems, and a much lower tax base to support all the issues that we have to deal with. We've been digging ourselves out. In this last census, what happened was, you know, we under the census estimates, they were telling us, oh, your population's increasing, your population's increasing. Well, it wasn't. We lost 29,000 people. But we looked at the numbers. We found that the reason we lost all those people is because we lost families with children. 22,000, we have 22,000 people in the city fewer today, 22,000 fewer kids in the city today than we had 10 years ago. And when kids leave, they take their parents. And that entire 29,000 can, more than the 29,000 of people left. Now, so that's what's going on, and we know anecdotally what's going on. There are, and I'm talking to people, I talked to someone today about it, and virtually every day. Parents are leaving the city, or they're choosing not to move here because they don't believe there's enough quality, free public education in the city of St. Louis. And we've been aggressive in pushing that agenda, working with the St. Louis Public School District, and they do have some very good schools, excellent schools, but they also have some of the worst in the state. In fact, they have the #1 ranked public high school in the state of Missouri, Metro, in the city of St. Louis Public School District. We're pushing, and I am, advocating for quality charter schools, quality, and we have, most recently, last couple of years, some really good quality charter schools. We don't have enough of them, and we're working hard to try to do more and more of those things. So those are some of the things we're doing with the tax dollars to try to, now here's a good thing about the census. When we looked at the numbers, we found that a lot of new people really did move into the city of St. Louis. We all of you know, people who moved into the city from St. Louis County or other places, and from out of town, they moved into the city that otherwise we're getting a lot of 20s and 30-somethings. We're getting empty nesters, people whose kids have grown, and they decided they wanted to be in the city. We're getting people with alternative lifestyles, particularly gays and lesbians, many of whom don't have kids. And they're coming in to the city of St. Louis because they're attracted to several things. They're attracted to our central location, they're attracted to our density, our diversity of people, our architecture, our unique neighborhoods, the lifestyle, the cultural and entertainment attraction, the arts, the parks, and it's easier to get around, and you're close to so many different things. And that's why we're here, and that's why we love the city. Now, we did lose population, but not as much as we've lost, you know, each 10 years before. We're going to be a smaller city than we were before, but we still have a lot of work to do, particularly quality education, and of course, we need to keep focusing on public safety and crime.
You know, Alderman did tell me that those statistics were about 27,000 had left the city of St. Louis about 2 weeks ago, so I did learn about that. With that being said, I hear that there may be some possible rezoning because of the population. I think each alderman is assigned a group based on the number of the population. So because that number has gone down, there's a rumor that there may be some rezoning. And then the second thing is, I live in the Central West End, so I guess I'm concerned, not so much, I mean, I'm concerned about other people, but I'm really speaking for the Central West End, where we still have abandoned buildings. Is there anything that's going to take place to help finish Olive and Washington? I mean, there's opportunities there, we're part of the West End, and there's still some abandoned buildings, and we're part of this family, and we want to see the entire entire West End development?
Yeah, most investment development is, I mean, almost all of it is market driven. I mean, you need to get people who are willing to invest. We don't fix up buildings. We don't do development. We provide incentives. We help facilitate development. But we don't, you know, somebody says, well, look at my block. What's the city doing to fix this up? Well, we don't do that. The city doesn't have money to fix houses up or rebuild buildings or to do any of those things. We don't do that kind of stuff. No city does. But what we do is we provide incentives, like I talked, you know, and we also try to get other dollars, like federal dollars. One of the things I did was I raised the money to get the Affordable Housing Trust Fund established. That is a fund that does help, you know, with making sure we have good quality, livable, low-income communities in the city. We've also taken advantage of a lot of the Hope 6. I think we could be one of the biggest cities in terms of the number of Hope 6 dollars that we have. That's where we took the high-rise, low-income housing developments, and we took them down and built low-rise, livable communities that are mixed income. We've done it all over the city, and those communities, if you've been there, if you've seen them 10 years ago and you see them now, it's a whole different neighborhood, and it's a much more quality for the people who live there, and also for those who don't live there. These are big challenges. I think we've seen a lot of progress in recent years, but we still have a lot of work to do. Now, as far as redistricting, that happens every 10 years. You're probably talking about a discussion to reduce the size of the Board of Aldermen from 28 to fewer and so. Well, that was submitted to the voters several years ago. That's still being discussed now, and it was not in this neighborhood. This is the only neighborhood I think it passed in. But, but the rest of the city was trounced. But that's something that's still being discussed as a potential. Anyway, but those are all good questions. Yes?
Mayor, I just had two questions. One is on the north side development. I assume you're talking about the McKinney.
Yes.
Now, hasn't that, or maybe I'm wrong, hasn't that been overturned by a judge, or is it a matter that's being appealed again? Or?
Yeah, there was a court case, and the judge found that you know, there wasn't enough specificity in the plan, in his view, even though the plaintiffs didn't bring it up. We believe we've corrected that problem. The Board of Aldermen passed another piece of legislation. It's a little smaller piece, but hopefully we can do this thing in kind of waves. And we'll see how it goes. This is a very tough time from an economic standpoint. Credit is very tight, and so everything's harder to do. But I'm still committed to it, because the worst thing that can happen with that is that if the whole thing flops, we're still in better position than we were before, because now we have a lot of properties where you can assemble them to market for development, which we couldn't do before because they were all individually owned by a bunch of different owners. Now they're going to be more under single ownership that'll help us market in a better way.
We are new residents. We're from the pair. In fact, the building that we're in, I just want to let you know, there's three county families that moved in approximately the same time we did, which is in December. So, just so you know, your comments are correct on that. The second question I had was, I've always been curious, because we've looked for several years for a condo in the city, and there's been a lot of tax abatement on a lot of nice condos. How does that really work out for the success of the city? Because sometimes I think that as the taxes actually get to where they're supposed to be, you may have a lot of residents then putting the condos up for sale because they don't want to pay the taxes, and then they move elsewhere. So I was just wondering if you could comment.
Yeah, here's what happens on tax abatement. It's used in various